Alrighty, so we've been working with some Citrusolve magazines and doing crazy papers with them, and I just wanted to show you a few other things that we can do with the crazy papers once we get them out of the magazine. If you will recall, we put plastic wrap inside of some of the magazine parts, and this is what it does. It makes a different kind of design. You can see here the little speckles and things. Those are a little bit different than what you would get if it was just a regular crazy paper like this. So I alter the papers even further by putting some plastic wrap inside of them, some doilies. This one had a doily inside and it made a really interesting sponge-like creature there. This had some wax paper inside of it, so you can actually put stencils or things inside the magazine while the Citrusolve is acting and it will alter them. Also, if you pull the pages off in a certain way, pretend this is a magazine and I'm going to pull the page off. I pulled this page by going like this, just undulating the page. And as I undulated it, when I pulled it off, it almost looks like a mountain scene all by itself. So as you pull the pages, being aware of different ways of pulling them off will also create different textures. One day, quite by accident, I discovered what I call my dry citra papers, and I almost like these as much as the glossy pages that you get when you initially pull them out. I had thrown these things out in the grass and let them dry, and when I went to get them to pull them into my studio, I discovered, oh no, I had kept two pages together, and I thought, well, maybe I can still get them apart because these are too beautiful to waste. So I got down and I pulled on it, and it was still wet enough that it was going to pull apart, but it was partly dry, and as I pulled it apart, I found that. Gorgeous, what I call dry pages, and you'll see the difference between the glossy page and the dry page. And I love the different kind of texture and feeling that these pages have. I've got another one here that got stuck together, and you can see this is very glossy. Now let's just pull it apart and see what we got in the inside. There. Absolutely gorgeous papers, which is what I call my dry papers. And on this collage behind me here, I've segued the dry pages with the glossy pages to create a really neat yin and yang kind of look with the pages. So I love these dry pages almost as much as my other ones. Here's some other examples of what I call the dry pages, which were the ones that were stuck together and then peeled apart after they had already dried. Here's another one. Let's peel this one apart. This has got a very pretty glossy side to it, but look what happens when I pulled it inside out. Gorgeous, gorgeous papers. So just remember, if you've got some particularly recalcitrant National Geographic and it's not doing anything, go throw it in the sun, go upstairs and paint for a while, and come back when the pages are dry, and you'll have these cool dry pages to work with too. Another thing that I found that works really neat is you can get a stencil. This is a store-bought stencil. I like to make my own, and what I do is I make my stencils out of the bacon inserts. And tragically, you have to make BLTs to get these, so which is one of my favorite sandwiches. You know the inserts in bacon, those little plastics things that are in there? You can take those and you can take an X-Acto knife and you can cut your own stencils out of them. This is a store-bought stencil and I've never used it ever, you can tell that. It's been through many workshops with me. And then this is a piece of Citrusolve paper, or any of these pages actually. And what I do is I just put the stencil over the top of the Citrusolve paper, take a piece of paper towel, just a little piece, like that. Take your Citrusolve, wet your paper towel with it, and then come over here where the stencil is and rub. And what you will do is you will have images that will appear from that stencil, because what we're doing is we're actually removing all of the ink. Remember, as you're doing this, to change out your paper towel a bit, otherwise you'll just be rubbing the black ink back into this. So we're going to come in here and we're going to create stencils. And as I said, your own design is even better. But this is a very easy thing to see. And you can see right here, we've got a really lovely design that we've actually rubbed in there to stencil. If you make your own designs out of the little bacon things, it's more fun, but this is a really easy one to look at. All right, now we have all of these crazy papers, and what are we going to do with them? I've created many collages with these crazy papers. This is one of them, which I really like, and that's originally the way that I had seen this presented. And one day I was thinking, what can I do with these papers besides that? They look so beautiful and they look like they might be forests or people or something. And so I tried several different mediums. I tried acrylic, I tried watercolor, I tried oil, and finally came up with the perfect thing to paint into these, and that is these F&W Artist Acrylic inks. They're wonderful, they're archival, and they just resist a little bit on the paper, whereas watercolor resists a lot, and it won't really actually stick to it. These are two of the paintings that I've actually done with the acrylic inks onto the Citrusolve papers. And my first attempts were a little bit lame. I'm going to just go over here and grab you examples of some of the very first things that I did, so that you can see that famous artists don't just magically create. Don't you love it? You get a DVD or something and it's got a famous artist on it, and they just do it and it always comes out perfectly and things. Well, that's not really the case. We all have to work real hard and keep experimenting with things. When I first started doing this, this is one of the very first trees I ever did. I saw trees in there somehow, and so I took my F&W Artist ink, and this is a sepia color that I use, and I went in and I painted into here just some trunks. And I loved the way that it resisted just a little bit in here. It made it look just like tree bark and things. And then I came in and scraped in a little bit of white F&W ink and a little bit of golden fluid acrylics interference ink. And I love the way that it creates a holographic kind of effect to it. All it was a page like this. I just put in the lines and put in the grass. Well, I was real happy with that to begin with, and then I started experimenting more with it. And now I'm doing a little bit more of a refined type of tree. So we grow as artists, we experiment. My favorite question is, what if? That's gotten me into trouble a few times, but you know, it's really fun to just imagine what would happen if you did something. This happens to be the very first person I ever found in a Citrusolve. The page looked just like that. And I came in and I used the Citrusolve to erase out her face and her hands. She doesn't even actually have a face. And I loved that, and I kept continuing to experiment. This particular one is like a maiden or something, and what I did with this one is I came in and I did negative painting. And what that is you paint, instead of painting the object, you paint around it to find the object. So the Citrusolve paper was like this. And as a matter of fact, it was a page very much like this, which you can see the colors here. And what I did is I took the sepia ink and I painted around the image to create the image itself. And then I just augmented it a little bit in here. And that's one of my favorite pieces still. I thought she was holding a mirror, but it turned out to be this beautiful partridge that was on her arm. This is a fun one. This is a watercolor demo that I was doing for a class. And the page was totally obliterated. The original image was totally gone. And I painted the waterfall in, and I painted the trees in, and I took the sky and I erased it out. And the student came up to me and she said, "How did you get that helicopter in there?" And I said, "Huh?" She said, "The helicopter, that is just awesome." And I said, "What helicopter?" "If you look right here, there's a little baby helicopter in there. That's the only thing that was left from the original image. So it looks like there's this helicopter flying." I didn't do it. It was already in there. These are some step-ups that I've just created to show you a little bit about how the process goes, and then I'm going to do it in person for you. This is an original Citrusolve page. This is the next step where I've just put in the tree trunks. And if you're an artist, you usually like to have odd numbers rather than even, so there's 7 of them there. This is where I start putting in the limbs of the tree. And this is where I start spattering in the leaves to create the actual forest. It's a really fun process, and I've taught this in many workshops, and everybody has something completely different that comes out of it.